Hello and welcome to Beyond the Game, right here on Idea Television. The show takes you beyond the pitch, the scores and stats to champion integrity, inclusivity and innovation in the world of sport. Powered by cutting-edge technology and groundbreaking research. An educative, fun and interesting show that keeps you glued to your TV screen. I am Dearest, and I am thrilled to take you guys on a roller coaster ride in the world of sport and innovation. And of course, let's keep the conversation going. Follow us across all our social media platforms at Idea Television and stay connected with everything beyond the game.
Good morning and welcome to Beyond the Game right here on Idea Television. I am your host, Dearest, and as always, I'll be promised to take you guys on a roller coaster ride in the world of sports. The question today is, what is mental health and how important is our mental health? We'll find about all of this when we come back from this break.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Game right here on Idea Television. The show takes you beyond the pitch, the scores and stats to champion integrity, inclusivity and innovation in the world of sport. Powered by cutting-edge technology and groundbreaking research. An educative, fun and interesting show that keeps you glued to your TV screen. I am Dearest, and I am thrilled to take you guys on a roller coaster.
Welcome back to Beyond the Game. If you're just joining us, you're right on track. Every year, athletes across the globe battles with mental health challenges. However, not all athletes feel confident enough to speak about their struggles. June 13th has been recognized as World Mental Health Awareness Day for Men, a day to spotlight the importance of mental well-being among male athletes and beyond. In recognition of this day, we take a look at sports stars who have bravely faced mental health battles while continuing to pursue their professional careers. Who better to discuss today's topic with me than a broadcast journalist and a mental health advocate himself? He's none other than Lukman Adelakin. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Dearest, for having me.
Thank you for being on the show with me today. So let's just get straight to it. What is mental health, Lukman?
Basically, mental health is all about your emotional, your mental, and physiological well-being. For athletes in sports, mental health in sports basically talks about how athletes take care of their emotional and physiological health, how you're able to mentally be upright, to be able to deal with the physical aspect of the game.
All right. And how important is mental health in sports?
I think in sports, it is not emphasized enough how important mental health is, because oftentimes we focus on the physical aspect of it, being physically fit and being upright to play the games across board. But then the emotional aspect of the game, especially for athletes who may be facing stress, some trauma, because athletes are humans like myself and yourself, but a lot of people do not understand that. Sometimes they even face backlash on social media for those who are active on social media. So all of these things come together to culminate into affecting their mental well-being. So as individuals, as organizations, even as broadcasters, we also should focus on how to help enhance or better the mental health of athletes, because it is very, very important, because it is when you're able to be upright up here, when you're all right up here, that's when you're able to perform your best physically. We talk about athletes going for the Olympics game. Behind every gold medal is a human being. So if the human being is not taken care of first, how do you get the gold medal? So sometimes it's not just about judgments, or even when some of our athletes, especially Nigerian athletes, come back and we say they've just won only one gold medal or 3 silver medals.
Oh, they didn't win any gold medal. Any medal at all.
And then you do not understand that there is an emotional aspect of what the performance entails. Yeah. And it is that emotional aspect, how they are able to manage it, take care of it, and balance it, that also affects the physical aspect of their game. For some athletes, everything is for you in a 5-star luxury hotel. You get your bonuses on time. But for some athletes in some part of the country, of the world, it is not the same. So all of those things affect their performances at the end of the day.
All right, you talked about social media and how people misuse social media, and you also talked about the fact that people forget that most athletes are human. I remember a case of the Euro 2020, the game between England and Italy, where Bukayo Saka and Rashford, they both missed penalties that that saw them lose the Euro to Italy, and they received so many backlash. That was the day people remembered that they were black. Like they forgot that they forgot the fact that they actually play for the English national team, and they started criticizing them, calling them really foul names, forgetting that they are humans first. How does this athletes bounce back from such defeats and such situation?
I think it doesn't depend largely on the individuals themselves. It's also about the community they are in, the family around them, and then the sports community too. For example, the club or the national association, the national team association, all of these people should come together, because it's not enough to say these athletes are facing these things on social media, but what are the backlash that the perpetrators are also receiving? Because we see that the experience you pointed out, especially of Bukayo Saka, we all know it's Nigerian, and even Nigerians would love that he plays for our country.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him perform over time for England, and then because of that one particular scenario that made them lose the Euros, the backlash came and it was being called different names and all of those kind of names. The sports community were able to call out those atrocities and those activities on social media, and so that was how even those who are facing it, like Bukayo Saka, would know that I am not alone in this. Because when you're facing say situations that are very, very difficult to handle, it's important that you know that you're not alone in that situation. So when you know that you're not alone, you know that you have support system, and it is easy to actually scale through and know that, okay, these people that are actually giving you these bad names or calling you all sorts of names are just a minor part of the population who at most don't matter. So you are able to go through that process. But then it's not just about performance-based and getting backlash on social media. There are different ways even athletes or footballers or table tennis players face different backlash on social media, even without doing anything wrong. There's the case of racism. Say, for example, the case of Vinicius Junior at Real Madrid. You go to stadiums, that is in the field of play, you are receiving racial abuses and all of that, say because you're black. And as a black person, you already have this mentality that there have been black people who have faced racial abuse over time before now. And so that speaks to your psyche, and then it affects your performance, because there's no way you're insulting me or you're calling me different names that I do not like. And then it affects me. And you know that these footballers, not all of them are able to go through the 4 walls of the university to have understood, say, the practical, or how to handle mental health stress, or how to even ignore some of the noises that you face. These are human beings who grew up in different environments like you and I, who may not even have the opportunity to have actually gone through formal education to have understood some of these things. So it is difficult to handle them. These people play in the streets of Brazil, play in the streets of Nigeria, play in the streets of Togo, Mali, different countries of the world, and then they go to Europe and then they experience these things. These are not what they bargained for. And then experiencing them, it takes you back another, say, 5 years of your career to be able to understand that why do people think like this? Why do people act like this? Why are people like this? Sure. And so as footballers, as athletes, because it doesn't affect just footballers. We saw the case of Naomi Osaka. Athletes face mental health because of different things. And so if as athletes, it is also important that they have, say, therapists who are able to help them speak. Those are for individual sports. For sports that are not individual based, that are group based. I think, for example, the clubs, the national team should have therapists who talk to these players oftentimes, especially those who are underperforming, because a lot of the time the coaches choose based on performance, and you cannot blame me for that. That's what he's there to do. But then for those who are underperforming, it is not just about looking at the physical aspect of their game. It's also about looking at their mental stability. Are these people okay mentally? If they're not, what do you do to actually enhance that mental stability? We see in England, Arsene Wenger is alluded for actually bringing up the case of nutrition for footballers. How about the mental health, the mental aspect of the game of footballers? How do footballers enjoy a stable mental health so they get physical fitness all right and perform at the most at top of their abilities. Because without that, I tell you, will just be like, oh, it's just exercise, it's just go to the training ground and then take a ice bath, come and perform. And when the player doesn't perform to the best of his ability, you start cursing, you start insulting. Take the case of Dele Alli at Tottenham. Everybody saw this guy as a promising young person
especially Jose Mourinho,
who was going to like take over the world. And then as a coach, you're angry that this person is not training well, is not performing well in the field of play, because you know the ability of this person is more than what this person is performing. Then it's not just about you shouting at the person and say, you will never achieve your goal in life, you never meet your aim in life, because you do not understand the mental aspect of this person's life. And you're not somebody who goes through everyday life with the person. So I do not blame you for not knowing, but then you should act better as an individual. So as football coaches or even team coaches should also understand that these athletes have personal lives, and their personal lives affect a lot of their professional careers. And if they get to understand these, I think it will help and go a long way.
All right, thank you. So you talked about a lot of things, but let me react to Dele Alli's case. Now, Dele Alli, came out as this young, promising star for Tottenham Hotspur, and Jose Mourinho, Jose Mourinho was an admirer of Dele Alli.
Yes, he was.
Player that he really loved so much. He wanted to see more from Dele Alli, but he could not give more. And behind all of that, criticism and backlash on Dele Alli, people never knew that he was suffering on the inside. Now, he came out one time, I think 2 years ago, last year.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Having to go to rehabilitation center because he was struggling with a sleeping pill addiction. He was hooked on sleeping pills. Why can't he sleep? Obviously, the pressure of having to deliver, perform at the top of his game, because everybody expects him to perform. And just like the saying goes, to him, more is given, more is expected. And I feel like there was just so many expectations from Dele Alli, and because he could not perform, do you think the fact that him affected as a human being and resort to taking sleeping pills just to sleep?
You see, from the interview that Dele Alli did, one of the things I understood is that the sleeping pills were not deliberately to be abused. They were to help him sleep. But he found help with those pills and started abusing those pills because he felt that whenever he takes those pills, they help him relieve and stay away from all of this life stress. And so if he's able to like distract himself or just dash off the consciousness of what is happening to him, it helps him to just relax back. But then at the end of the day, it led to a series of abuse of drugs. Nobody knew until he spoke out. That is what I'm saying. You're not going through the personal life of these people. And there's no way. If somebody is not feeling, say, for example, say I lost somebody this morning, I cannot come do this interview to the best of my ability. If I'm a footballer, I cannot go and perform to the best of my ability. I haven't lost, for example, my dad yesterday. So people, it doesn't have to be the loss of somebody that is there. It can be, say, somebody insulted you on your way here, and then, or say somebody maybe spoke to you in a way that you do not like. So all of these things, with the way Jose Mourinho admired Dele Alli's talent, it was also part of the contributors to his abuse of drugs, because it was also part of people that was putting a lot of pressure on Dele Alli. And as a coach, he is obliged to actually put pressure. But then how do you put your arms around these players to make them understand that you do not have to be pressured to perform? Don't worry, if you're not performing right now, it will come. Say the case of Phil Foden last season. Phil Foden was the English footballer season before. But last season, zero performance. What did Pep Guardiola come out to say? Pep Guardiola say, leave Phil Foden alone. He will come back better. That is how a coach should do. You play to the psychological aspect of the player's mind too, because it is what it is. These players are human beings, and when they hear you speak to the press, maybe you're not even telling them directly, when they hear you speak on television to the press, or they hear you speak on interviews and you speak about them in glowing terms, they are encouraged to actually deal with whatever they are going through. Now, I'm going to bring the case of Lamine Yamal, for example. When Cristiano Ronaldo did the interview before the final of the Nations League final, he spoke on something. He said, let the kid grow. A lot of people do not understand that footballers are not gods. Footballers are human beings. And a 17-year-old who is a top athlete is still a 17-year-old. So he's still a kid.
I mean, this guy is still in school.
So when you start to put this pressure on this boy as a 17-year-old, because he's a good footballer, he's got prospects, he's got the talents to actually back it up. But then there's something that's called the mental aspect of the game. So if these footballers are placed on this pedestal, that we all have actually put them in glowing terms. It's okay, but then the expectations should not be as high, especially for a 17-year-old, because I, for one, am somebody who admired the careers of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. But one of the things that they enjoyed was that they grew up in the right environment, and in the right environment, by the right environment.
Space.
No, it's
Social
not.
media wasn't so a big thing.
It's not even about the less toxic space. It was that they grew up in teams where they had top performers who were older than them. Lamine Yamal, for him, is the best player in the Barcelona team. He is the best player in the Spanish team. For Lionel Messi, he was the best player in the Argentina team, but he was still the youngest. But there were players like Sergio Aguero, there were players like Higuain, there were players like Carlos Tevez who were top performers too. So it doesn't have to be that if Lionel Messi doesn't perform, there is an issue. You see the 2014 World Cup, Argentina lost to Germany. Nobody talks about Lionel Messi being an issue or whatever after that final. But see the Nations League final that Spain lost to Portugal. Everybody was speaking about Lamine Yamal as if he's the only one in the field of play for Spain. And he was the youngest on the pitch.
Focusing on him.
And so that's why sports lovers need to understand that there's a level to what your criticism should be and what your praise should be. As much as you love a footballer, your praise should not be overglowing, because sometimes some reactions that some footballers receive is not just because of the footballer, it's because of the fans of such footballers too. Say for example, when Cristiano Ronaldo won the Nations League, now a lot of Lionel Messi fans were receiving backlash that Cristiano Ronaldo has won 3 major trophies with his country, whereas Messi has won 3 major trophies. But the thing was that before Messi came, even Argentina had a lot of national trophies, but then national honors. But then for Cristiano Ronaldo, before he came, they had none. All of these things are controversies that people just want to bring out.
You know, football fans they are extremists in the sense that they even go to your face. The game in the American League where after Messi had just finished playing with Inter Miami, and someone comes and he starts shouting, you know, he wore a Cristiano Ronaldo jersey and like telling Messi, oh, Ronaldo is this. I'm like, really? That is too much.
And so that's why I say it builds on the team that these players play for, the national team, the club sides, sports stakeholders to come together to make sure that the mental aspects of the game do not suffer. Players are looked after, not just for their physical aspect, not just for their nutrition, but also for the mental well-being of these players, because that will help and that goes a long way. Sometimes these things are not what you see every day. They are not because for example, somebody hits his leg and the leg is broken. It's something that is physical that you can see. This person cannot play. But somebody may be dealing with a trauma that is mental that you do not see. And the person cannot perform, but you still say the person should go and play because that's not physical.
No, speaking of someone dealing with trauma and could not perform, or could, but she had to take a step back. American gymnast Simone Biles. She publicly addressed her mental health struggles, particularly during the the Tokyo Olympics in 2020. Now, during the Olympics, she had to withdraw from that particular competition because she felt like her mental health was being challenged and she could not go on. And she withdrew, leaving the Team America hanging, because she was undoubtedly the best gymnast at the time. But the twist to it all is the fact that some people received it with grace, understanding that, oh, wow, you could actually talk about this thing instead of going further, to compete and get injured. Some people understood it from that angle. While for some, they felt like, oh, she was feeling too privileged. Like, she just ups and leaves her country. And, oh, for what reason exactly? And this girl struggled and struggled. But thank God she had support system. She had her family, where they were really supportive. Some sports fans across the globe, they supported her. But then again, when athletes finally comes out to talk, just like Dele Alli received both praise and criticism. In fact, the criticism was more than praise. Why do people feel the need? How can I come out and tell you that I'm struggling and you are still criticizing me
and insulting you for that matter?
So what do athletes do? How do they come back from this when you finally speak up and you still criticize?
Now, one of the things that every individual, whether you're an athlete or you're not, is to understand that self-care is not selfish. If you understand that, you begin to place yourself first. beyond every expectations that's placed on you by outsiders or fans or lovers or haters, as the case may be. Now, if you understand that self-care is not selfish, then you begin to look out for yourself more. And in looking out for yourself more is the case of the gymnast that we just mentioned now. If she was not able to identify that, and she was like, because of the expectations that was on her, then I should just compete. Then at the end of the day, she will still underperform at the tournament, and then the backlash would still come. So you cannot win on both sides. You would always have places that you're lacking for these people. So when you love yourself enough to identify when you're suffering mentally, and then you take care of yourself, then sometimes you just stay away from social media, because one of the things is that when you see these things, you cannot escape it.
True.
But what you don't see, they say cannot kill you.
True.
That is what social media is for me. If you do not see it, it cannot affect you. But immediately you begin to expose yourself to them, then there's what we call selective exposure. As a human being, even for myself, that I'm not an athlete, there are some parts of social media that I do not go to. Sometimes I go a lot of days without going to Twitter, because the kind of information that Twitter brings out is not the same kind of information that Facebook brings out, for example. It's not the kind of information you get on YouTube. So there are some social media platforms that you just do away with, and there are some handles you just block those contacts. Because if you have a stone mind, have a wall card, it will get to you. Sometimes it's not even when those people have said it. It is when, say for example, someone insults you and calls you a name, and then in your real life scenario, you're just walking around and somebody else now calls you that name in real life, and then it triggers you and relates back to what you actually saw on social media the day before, and then all of those things culminate together to actually trigger you and then make you to start feeling down. So filter the information you get, the things you expose yourself to, especially on social media. You select them. That's the selective exposure I'm talking about. And then there's a lot of having your tribe. As sports people, also have people who are around you, because a lot of people who are sports people, because of the wealth that comes with it, they kind of like have become themselves. They are on their own. Nobody can advise me again. Nobody can talk to me again. It is not like that. Yeah. The wealth, as a matter of fact, will come, but then the wealth will not help you take care of your mental health. It is the people that are your tribe, the people that you listen to, the people that know that if they speak to you, you will be able to listen. Those are the people that you associate yourself with. You group yourself in those people's midst, and that way they help you deal with situations better. And then there's a part of this conversation that we do not actually talk about: the coaches. I think especially for football, a lot of people do not understand that coaches go through a lot. Imagine the expectation of having to coach a team to perform, and when they don't perform, you receive backlash. You have a life of your own. Say, for example, the case of Pep Guardiola last season, when Manchester City was going through all of those bad patches, and then all of a sudden we heard he was going through a divorce with his wife. Imagine marriage of 20-something years, and you're going through a divorce, and you're coaching a team in the middle of a season, and then the team is underperforming, and then you're being criticized for that performance. And then even when the case of the divorce came outside, not a lot of people were able to understand or stand with that. A lot of people were saying that this is just a media way of excusing or giving an excuse to Pep Guardiola. All of those things also come together. And then there's the case of footballers' retirement, because sometimes the trauma or the mental issue do not come during your career. It can come at the end of your career when football is gone.
Now that's another angle to look at it. But we'll talk about that. We'll go on a break now. But when we come back, we'll be, focusing on other angles of mental health. Don't go nowhere.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Game, right here on Idea Television. The show takes you beyond the pitch, the scores and stats, to champion integrity, inclusivity, and innovation in the world of sport. Powered by cutting-edge technology and groundbreaking research. An educative, fun, and interesting show that keeps you glued to your TV screen. I am Dearest, and I am thrilled to take you guys on a roller coaster ride in the world of sport and innovation. And of course, let's keep the conversation going. Follow us across all our social media platforms at Idea Television and stay connected with everything beyond the game.
Welcome back. Now, from Naomi Osaka to Simone Biles to Mike Phelps, even Dele Alli, and so many other sports stars who have battled with mental health. The big question is, how do you come back after suffering, a mental health breakdown? And that's, where you come in.
I think, first of all, you have to have a therapist. As a footballer, as an athlete, whenever you start your career, you don't have to have gone through mental health challenges before you have a therapist. Have a therapist that helps you go through your daily life routine. Whatever you're going through, you can always share with that therapist. It's a professional that helps you manage your life experiences. It doesn't have to be that the person is not somebody that is going to be judging you. Say, for example, you have friends that you do not trust them not to judge you or use those information against you. Your therapist is there to guide you through and also suggest ways for you to handle some of those situations. And then, like I said, have a tribe. Have people that you speak to. Have people that are your friends, that are family. You cannot do away with family. No matter how rich you are as a sports person or as a footballer, you cannot do away with that. And then, as people who are lovers of sports or fans of sports too, we should understand that athletes are not superhumans. They're
humans just like you and
I. They are
I.
humans like you and I. They are not
Yeah.
superheroes. So the level of expectations we place on them should be minimal. And as much as we want to expect them to win, we should also understand that the mental aspect of the game is something that is very, very critical. And before you start criticizing any footballer, before you start criticizing any athlete, before you start criticizing any sportsman, also understand, is there something behind this person's on the performance? If you are able to look through that lens, I think you'd be able to judge better.
Yeah.
And for sports associations, I think focusing on just the physical aspects of the game, the nutrition aspects of the game is not enough. We should take care of our athletes both mentally too, because the mental aspect of the game is very, very important and sometimes overlooked. And I think the June 13 is such days that it's important to actually reiterate these mantras that it is not enough to say these athletes should perform physically. What are you doing to actually help them cater to the well-being of their mental health?
And because mental health is so important, I feel like athletes should, prioritize mental health first before every other thing. Because sometimes a lot goes on in your head that can really affect your body. And I love Cristiano Ronaldo so much. And people, he still receives backlash.
It does.
Up until this day.
Every athlete will receive backlash. And I think one of the things that actually helped Messi over time was that he doesn't understand English language.
I think that's
and then sometimes your limitation can play to your advantage.
Yes, true.
So because Messi did not understand the English language, I don't think he was able to receive the interpretation of all of those backlash, all of those criticism or insults as much as Cristiano Ronaldo did. And that is why for me, I still rate Cristiano Ronaldo as the GOAT of the football game, because for me it goes beyond just performing on the field of play. All of these things we've counted on also matters. And if an athlete is able to receive all of these things, understands all of these things, and then filters them, and then it doesn't affect him. Imagine a 20-something-year-old career for a 40-year-old athlete who is still performing at the top of his game. Is not something that everybody is able to do.
True.
And so that is why, as much as we criticize these athletes, we should also sing praises for them. And when you sing praises of them, it doesn't mean that anytime they now underperform, you now say, it ain't be that now. No, please.
We'll call them out when needed, and we'll still be more
empathetic. Let's reduce the call out.
Okay, so you talked about racism, and I'm just gonna just talk about it a little before we end the show. I remember a certain Dani Alves Barcelona game. I can't remember the club they were playing against, and he was he's black, so you receive racist comments a lot. But then someone now went as far as throwing banana to him, meaning he's a monkey, like. Monkeys eat banana. And he picked up the banana and he ate it. And he smiled. I love what he did.
I'll just speak to that. See, there is a thing with sports federations that the laws that they set are usually to maybe reprimand athletes when they sometimes give it back to the fans.
Yeah.
I don't think it's correct. For example, if somebody maybe throws that banana at me, and as a footballer I throw that banana back at them, then as a sports federation, you now sanction me and say you're banning me for a couple of games because of what I did.
The case of Hazard and the ball boy.
Yes, so I think there should be a balance between also reprimanding athletes and also reprimanding the fans. If there are fans who are able to throw these things in the field of play, and that's why in some countries they use barricades in the stadium, so fans are not able to access the players just like that. So if federations are critical about athletes giving it back to the fans, I think federations should do more and understand what these athletes suffer when they experience these things, because you are not the one in the field of play, you are not the one experiencing these things, and so you cannot tell me how to react. And as a human being, there's always that emotional way of reacting to situations, and everybody have a different way of reacting. And so if I react in that way, as much as I'm not physically abusing anybody, As long as it is what you did to me that I give back to you, it is, for me, it is self-defense, and I don't think the athlete should be reprimanded that way.
All right. I think you've said enough, but then again, it doesn't negate the fact that our mental health should be guided at all times, and not just athletes. So as the world gets towards celebrating the World Mental Health Awareness Day for Men tomorrow, I think it's a wake-up call for not just athletes, but for we humans in every profession, any walks of life. You find yourself to prioritize your mental health. Regardless of the situation you find yourself, always prioritize your mental health so you don't break down. But before I let you go, Lukman, any final words?
Yeah, I want to say that as much as it is Mental Health Awareness Day for men, I think women also deserve to be recognized. And as much as this is for men, it's basically because men go through a lot in life that they do not speak about. And a lot of people expect the man to be a strong person. And because of the imagery of what a man is, it gives you the exuberance of strength and power. But men also go through a lot. So I want to speak to every young man out there. As a young person who is going through life, you're okay if you feel weak sometimes. You're okay if you feel neglect sometimes. You're okay if you do not feel okay sometimes. Speak out. Relate with people. Talk to people. Sometimes some will judge you. Some people will help you. A problem shared is half solved. Right now, it's usually the talk of society. But then, you know that you're able to express yourself, and from that expression, you're able to solve a lot of that mental health issue.
All right, thank you so much, Lukman. You've said it all. I'm sure they've heard it. Prioritize your mental health, be it a man or a woman, or even a young child or an old person, because if you don't work on your mental health, if your mental health is not sound enough, it will really affect you in every aspect of your life. We call it a wrap on the show today, but before we go, do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channels, Idea Television. I remain your host, Dara Stumba. Until next time, stay blessed and stay happy. Bye for now.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Game, right here on Idea Television. The show takes you beyond the pitch, the scores and stats to champion integrity, inclusivity and innovation in the world of sport. Powered by cutting-edge technology and groundbreaking research. An educative, fun and interesting show that keeps you glued to your TV screen. I am Dearest, and I am thrilled to take you guys on a roller coaster ride in the world of sport and innovation. And of course, let's keep the conversation going. Follow us across all our social media platforms at Idea Television and stay connected. Everything beyond the game.
Hey, that's